What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're back with some Destiny 2 news in the form of This Week at Bungie. And so this one dropping pretty early today, Bungie gets straight into it and talk about Iron Banner, so the final Iron Banner for this season, but also some new weapons that they're bringing in Season 14. They also speak about adding new Iron Banner armor a bit further down the road, so we'll break all of that stuff down, but also they talk about some weapon tuning for Season 14, some changes to 120 hand cannons, also adjustments to perks like Quick Draw and Frenzy, and then a little bit of tuning for exotics. Plus there are a few other things which we'll round up in this video. So as always guys, I hope you enjoy this one, but now let's get into it. A couple of things we should mention up front right here, but Bungie help tweeted and said that the Suited for Combat Week 9 seasonal challenge will only gain progress when players wear the full Praefectus Season of the Chosen armor set. So it kind of clarifies exactly which set we need to wear, because the challenge in the game itself doesn't actually specify, so that clears that one up. But also, DMG tweeted and said they missed a patch node in one of the recent updates, and the perk Thresh now works inside of the Crucible. So, of course, when you kill enemies with the weapon, it'll generate a small amount of super energy per kill. That one wasn't previously active inside of PvP, so in case you missed it, it is now beneficial on PvP weapons, and will definitely be a pretty awesome bonus for certain builds. Moving on to the main beats from the TWAB, they do point out that the final Iron Banner for Season of the Chosen will be launching next week, so that'll be April 13th at the weekly reset time, so 10 AM PST, and of course running up until April the 20th. But they say, we do want to take a moment to look forward in time to Season of the Redacted, which of course they're referring to Season 14, where Saladin will have a few new items up his sleeve. And so they say a familiar hand cannon and sniper rifle will be rejoining the fight, but two new weapons are also making their debut, and our goals moving forward are to continue bringing some Year 1 weapons up to speed with random rolls, but also bringing some new rewards into the fold when possible. This will always depend on the resources we have for a given season, but we're looking forward to a few new Iron Banner themed tools for your arsenal. And even further out, we're planning a new armor set for the Iron Banner. These won't appear for a few seasons, but we've heard your desire for some new digs, and once we have more information, we'll let you know. But until then, we hope you enjoy some new weapons. So, of course, we can see the sniper and hand cannon returning right there, but also, we've got a new shotgun and machine gun. And they seem to take a few notes from the kind of Rise of Iron themed weapons we had back in Destiny 1, at least in terms of the cosmetics, so it's definitely going to be nice to get some new weapons inside of Iron Banner finally, and at least thematically, those do look pretty cool, so of course we'll get a better look at them in Season 14 in a few weeks' time. Up next though, Bungie talk about the never-ending search for balance, and they say for Season of Redacted, we'll have a few changes coming into the Sandbox. Weapons and archetypes that need to be tuned in order to create breathing room for other aspects of the Destiny Sandbox to shine, but also, they say they're planning quite a few buffs to underused perks, linear fusion rifles and more, but the current plan is to cover perk and weapon buffs in an upcoming TWAB. And so for now, they speak about aggressive 120 RPM hand cannons, and they say they're very dominant in PvP, and we've received enough feedback that we want to rein them in a bit without completely taking away their range benefits. So 120 hand cannons will now have damage and aim assist fall off distance reduced by between 2 and 4 meters based on the range stat, and this will roughly half the range buff that they received inside of Beyond Light. So they're not going to go back to pre-Beyond Light, but there is going to be a slight adjustment there. But then for Vortex Frame Swords, they say, with Fallen Guillotine now viable forever, we need to adjust it a little, as damage output is flat out higher than all of the legendary swords. And with this change, we allow it to keep its high damage output, but are reducing its full reserves damage output by reducing the number of heavy attacks you'll be able to perform. So full energy heavy attack ammo cost has been increased from 4 to 6. Obviously that's going to affect these weapons quite a bit. And then they say chip damage. Certain weapons, including swords and Bastion, bypass shields by varying amounts, which has caused numerous issues with stasis encased enemies, encounter mechanics, and other content. So they're removing chip damage from swords and Bastion. As always, let us know your thoughts on those, but then for perks and quick draw, they say the perk is intended to provide faster swap speed, but also passively buffs handling by plus 100, and this completely negates the downside of using low handling weapons, such as aggressive shotguns, sniper rifles, and hand cannons. And that isn't something they want to encourage, so they say those weapons should have downsides, and working around those completely via a perk isn't healthy. So the handling bonus is now removed 1 second after switching to the weapon or upon aiming down sights. but also they're replacing Quick Draw with Surplus on new and existing drops of Fellwinter's Lie and Astral Horizon. So all versions of those weapons, at least with Quick Draw, are being adjusted, bear that in mind. For Frenzy though, they say the perk has extremely high uptime in PvE, to the point where it's clearly a better choice than most other weapon damage perks. We like the high uptime and want to preserve that, but want it to award less damage than harder to activate damage perks, so they're reducing the damage bonus from plus 20% to plus 15%. And then for Reservoir Burst, they say it now increases magazine size in addition to its other effects, and they've reduced full battery bonus damage from 33% to 25%. Upcoming content requires revisiting the power level of a damage perk that can be activated simply by having a full magazine. Sounds like they might be referring to Vault of Glass right there. And then for Exotics and the Lament, they say this weapon is a clear outlier for sword damage, so for the health of heavy weapon diversity, we're pulling it back a bit. And they've reduced the damage of revved heavy attack by approximately 16%, but they say note that Lament retains standard anti-barrier despite removing chip damage. And then for Bastion, they say since we're removing chip damage, Bastion gets something else instead. And we've noticed increased feedback on Bastion and higher than normal usage in PvP, so we're making a small change here. And we'll revisit Bastion later, but it intrinsically staggers unstoppable champions, and they've increased spread angle by 13%. And so there is definitely a mixed bag of changes right there, and I know there'll be quite a few thoughts from you guys, so as always, give them down in the comment section. But once again, these changes will be rolling out into the game at the start of Season 14. So let us know what you think about that. But also inside of the TWAB, they speak about the new charity initiative for Kilts for Kids. That'll include a new unique Destiny 2 emblem with all $50 donations. But they're encouraging any of us who can to donate $10 or more before Friday, April 23rd to help out their new initiative with the RMHC. So if you want to check that out, the link will be down in the description box below. Finally though, here as we end the video, I should mention that just yesterday, Bungie had a developer deep dive stream for the Presage exotic mission aboard Glycon, so I'll link the full recap for that down below, and we will play some short highlight segments right here at the end of the video. Definitely something cool to check out, but for today guys, that is everything that we have to round up inside of this video, so give us any of your thoughts as always in the comment section. Also feel free to get subscribed if you want to keep up to date with the world of Destiny 2. But for now, thank you as always for tuning in, and I hope you have an awesome day.
So originally, this mission was going to be a derelict Cabal ship in space run by loyalist Callus, basically a gladiatorial arena that they have basically like set up shop in Callus's absence in the system. But during this time, while we were concepting the release, we were missing something. And that something we were missing was the influence of the darkness on our world outside of Europa. The main destination we featured in Beyond Light. And so this is something we were feeling strongly kind of as a leadership group as we were entering production, developing the season. And at the same time, many of the people on this call and across the studio were also feeling strongly that we were kind of missing something weirder, something spookier, something that aligned more with the darkness and trying to understand how different entities in the universe are trying to wield it and what that means for our universe. And so the team was already discussing ideas for the Ghost Ship inspired by some of this D1 concept art that we're looking at and horror films across media and multiple other sources of inspiration. And so with that, we wanted to give players a new place to explore things they've maybe seen before, but through a different lens. We wanted to surprise and delight them with a secret exotic mission in the vein of Whisper and Zero Hour that challenges their prowess, agility, and minds and tells the story of Callus and Kayatol.
We had this idea of this like giant imposing trash compactor, which is like a really fun fantasy for like an environmental hazard that we knew that we wanted somewhere within this ship to give the ship more character. So I think we have some early images in the development, and it was literally just these giant imposing walls that were like crunching in. And I'm glad that the experience basically remained that, where you're like this tiny little guardian stuck in this massive metal room, and everything about it doesn't feel right, and you get that unease while you're in here. You don't know what this lever's gonna do. I remember the first time we got this working, and we actually had the physics bits being pushed in by the walls, and you're running around and you're shooting the vents on the ground, and those physics bits are like popping out of the floor, and those are also being crunched in, and like everything is like moving and being crunched in. It was amazing. I loved seeing that all come together. It was like, it really sold the whole experience for me.
The boss fight really started to come together. Like the players before were able to just kind of jump around the locus of communion, like really just not engage with the boss fight at all. So having them go into a space that you can't really jump too high over or use a lot of those great movement abilities that Guardians have really kind of took away some of the power and made it so that the boss had the advantage, which using that spatial design to do that, I think was a nice way to make this boss feel different.
We had to like have some visual indicators, so we had to have like fire on the player. We also had to have like these bright pipes around, kind of to remind you that like the entire area is hot. And then Meg Poe basically just like hit the home run, where he was doing all the lighting. So like we had like a very like warm colored version with like atmospherics and whatnot, and it really felt like you were on fire. But the additional pivot towards the end was that we decided not only to have a like on-off switch, but it was basically like hot and cold. So like working with Nick very closely, trying to implement like additional effects on top of that, I had to like come up with this vapor and this mist on top of it, where now you had the real yin yang contrast, a real like polar opposites of like these game states, and I think that the game just like became so much better because of it.